Good morning. Thank you for joining us for our Client Services webinar. My name is Belinda Cardwell, and I'm a counselor here at Genesis, and I'm joined today by a co-counselor. And I'll let her introduce herself.
Yeah, hi, my name is Noelle Cloward, and I'm also a counselor here at Genesis. Glad to be with you all this morning.
So we're going to talk a little bit about goal setting, but before we get to that, we're going to do some housekeeping, so to speak. We want to remind you that this presentation is for educational purposes only, and please consider your own situation and safety concerns before putting into practice any of the ideas that we talk about today. So again, more on safety. Please be sure to watch this in a safe place where only safe people can hear it. Using headphones can help ensure that no one else can hear what you're watching. Remember to clear your browser history after watching if you feel like someone monitors your phone or computer. And if you need to leave the live Zoom webinar quickly, remember that you'll need to click end a couple times and then close the Zoom page. Some more on confidentiality. We ask that you do not use the chat feature on Zoom, because if you use the chat feature, your name and comment will be seen by anyone watching the live video, as well as when the video recording is put up on YouTube. And if you leave any comments on the YouTube video recording, your name and comment will also be seen by anyone who watches the video. So please, for your confidentiality's sake, do not comment on the Zoom webinar or when it's posted on the YouTube video. If you have any questions about this webinar, we do not monitor or respond to any comments or questions, as we just talked about, but you can contact us directly. Here's our information. Noelle's number is 214-389-7724, and then there's her email address. My direct line is 214-389-7718, and also listed there is my email address. So this is for educational purposes. It's not for help if you're in a crisis. If you are in a crisis and you need help with emergency safety planning or looking for emergency shelter due to domestic violence, please call our 24-hour hotline. That number is 214-946-4357. If you just like to sign up for counseling at Genesis or want to talk to a counselor about your situation, you can call 214-389-7700. And listed here are some more information that might be helpful with your hotline contacts. Again, the Genesis Women's Shelter and Support number. There's also the National Domestic Violence, which is 800-799-7233. There's also a chat feature on their website at thehotline.org. And then the National Suicide Hotline is 800-273-8255. These numbers are something you might want to keep handy in case you need to reach out in a crisis situation. Okay, we're going to talk about goal setting today. And you might wonder, why are we talking about goal setting in the middle of the year? Well, that's exactly my point. You don't need a specific date or a certain event to set goals. You can set goals at any time in any season without waiting for something specific. Goal setting is important. It kind of keeps you future focused, as well as helps you make progress in whatever your goals are. Now, if you're in a domestic violence relationship, you might think, I can't be future focused. I'm just trying to survive. I'm just trying to be safe. And we understand that, but we also understand that looking for the future and setting goals, no matter how small the goals are, will help you with a sense of empowerment and confidence, which will also help you feel a little more control of your life. Okay, so goal setting is important because without a goal, you might not have the probability of changing, and setting a goal increases this probability. Setting a goal gives you clarity and focus. You know what you're working forward to, and you know what your path may be. It will also sustain your motivation because you are working towards something specific. And it decreases feeling overwhelmed because you have these guidelines or this goal in mind. And most importantly, it increases your self-efficacy when accomplishing your goals, which basically means you're going to feel better about yourself. You're going to have that control that I talked about just a minute ago, and a sense of empowerment when you accomplish your goals. So we know that goals are important, but how do we go about setting a goal? We're going to talk today about the SMART goal system. And the SMART is an acronym that is set for specific criteria in order to reach this goal. The S stands for specific, or you can think of it as significant. What do I want to accomplish? What outcome would I like? Why is this important? Who's involved? Where's this goal going to take place? And what resources will be involved? And then you're going to talk about your goal in terms of measurability. So how will I know when I reach this goal? Is it quantifiable? How much, how many? Then you're going to think about your goal in terms of attainable or achievable, or even agreeable. Is this something that I can achieve? Is it something that stretches my abilities without leading to a sense of feeling overwhelmed? How can I accomplish this goal? And how realistic is this goal? And most importantly, how confident do I feel that I can do this on a scale of 1 to 10? Just a little tip here, when you're going through this criteria for setting your goal, you want to make sure that your goal is something that you have the power to achieve. Don't set a goal based on what someone else can give you, or what someone else has power over you, because that will not be specific to your plans if you're having to rely on someone else to give you a resource or give you something that can help you attain your goal. Then the R stands for relevant or reasonable or resourced or results-based. So how meaningful is this goal to you on a scale of 1 to 10? Is it worthwhile? Is this the right time? Does it match what I want to do in life? And can it be broken down into realistic steps? And then finally, timed or timely or time sensitive. If we don't put an endpoint on a goal, we might not know we've reached it. We might not know how successful we've been. So we need to understand when we're going to reach our goal and what our time frame is. And this kind of is when our deadlines. This is our deadline for meeting our goal. And I think we can all relate to how important it is to have a deadline, so we know that we need to get things done and monitor our progress in getting to our goal. So we're going to set a goal together, and we're going to talk about exercise. And so for me, my specific outcome is work up to walking 3 times a week for 30 minutes. So there's my specific questions that I can answer. I'm the one that's doing it. My resources are just my tennis shoes and my neighborhood. I know this is important because we talk a lot about how important exercise is for physical health and emotional health. And I know that I want to accomplish it because I know it will make me feel better on several dimensions. So measurable. How will I know when I reach this? Well, I'm going to keep a tracker to track my times that I walk as well as my duration. And I'm also going to keep a tracker for how I feel in the morning. Do I have more energy? And granted, this will be subjective, but it's also going to be something I'm going to be able to measure, knowing that I have my own scale of energy level. So this is important, so I know how much and how many times I will need to get more exercise by walking. And then we're going to talk about attainable. Is this attainable? How confident do I feel? Well, on that scale, I'm about a 7 because I know it's going to push me because right now I'm not doing any exercise. So I know that I can because I have in the past. But I know I want to make sure it's attainable by breaking it down to steps. This is where I would think about, okay, I'm going to start out with maybe just 5 minutes 3 times a week, and then I'm going to add 5 minutes every week until I'm up to my 30 minutes 3 times a week, and then I'm going to maintain that to see if it's getting the results I need. So that's why I know it's attainable, because I can break it down into steps. And is it relevant? Yes, because it's meaningful to me. I give that a 7 on a scale of 1 to 10 because it's my health, my physical and emotional health, so that's very relevant. I can break it down into realistic steps as I've done in the attainable criteria. Is it the right time? I think it is the right time. We're moving into cooler weather. So I think I have more of the ability to go out and walk outside. And it's something I want to do. It's something that I can do by myself without relying on anybody else. And then as far as timed, I'm giving myself 6 months. That's when I'm going to know that I've got this as a goal and have maintained it. That might seem like a long time to work up to this goal, but knowing that I haven't been exercising and that I need to work up to it, and I need to, in my mind, have a time where I'm doing it consistently, is important to know that I've reached that goal of adding more exercise into my life. And while we're talking about our SMART goal criteria, I want you to realize that you probably need to think more about the measurable part, the attainable part, and the relevant part, and think about that as far as the action steps that come into reaching a goal versus the actual results. If you focus on your actions, that will help you feel more powerful in attaining this goal, as well as feeling more confident. If you focus just on the results, you might lose track a little bit and start feeling too overwhelmed because you're not doing the steps you need to do to lead up to it. Okay, so I've had this goal of exercising. I've gone through my SMART criteria, but what happens if it's not reached, right? Well, this is when you would go back, you would take that information, you might feel disappointed, you would process that emotion, but then you would take this as valuable information and go back to your SMART goals and figure out what needs to be adjusted so you can reach the goal. Maybe it wasn't a specific enough outcome, maybe it really wasn't attainable, maybe the steps weren't really such that it was something I could build on. Maybe I gave myself too much time, so I got off track, or maybe I just didn't give myself enough time. So when you set a goal and you don't reach it, just think of that as important information that can be reviewed and reassessed in order for you to meet your goals. Now, the one thing that's not really covered here on this criteria is how our emotions and thoughts affect our behaviors. 2 weeks ago, we talked about the Cbt Triangle, and this might come into play here as you're setting your goal. Think about your emotions and your thoughts when you go through each one of these criteria and figure out how those are going to play in. Maybe you might feel like you can't do it, so it's not attainable. So you kind of need to think about how you can rethink your ability to achieve this goal and become more confident. Or maybe you feel like it's not specific enough because you just don't know what to do. Well, then maybe it might be to where you think of your big goal and break it down even smaller in order for it to be specific enough for you and not have a sense of feeling overwhelmed. So I know this was pretty quick and a lot of information to cover, but we think it's very important for you to keep goal setting in mind any time of the year for any type of activity or action. And if you need help setting goals, we're here for you, whether it's counseling goals or some coping skill goals or something that you want to work on, we'd be more than happy to help you with. And so for the next portion, I'm going to turn it over to my co-leader, Noelle, and she's going to take us through a coping skill.
Great, thanks, Belinda. And yes, just as you were talking, I was thinking about how, and if you're watching this webinar, you most likely have come to Genesis for some services. And so we asked at your intake, and also as you meet with advocacy, we probably asked you about your goals. And so maybe as you were watching this, you were thinking about some goals that you have, and we hope that that can hopefully maybe empower you to see some steps to break that down. And also, again, like Belinda said, we encourage you to meet with a counselor or continue attending the open groups that we have, or meet with an advocate if you're feeling maybe stuck in your goals or feeling like you need some extra help. Common to fill. And then one other piece that we wanted to end with this coping skill is that sometimes we may struggle with setting goals, either because of maybe there is something about our situation where maybe that gets in the way of our goals, but also maybe there are things internally, like Belinda brought up with the Cbt Triangle, kind of relating to maybe our thoughts that we're having. Maybe there's ways we can kind of reframe our thoughts or practice some positive thinking or some positive ways of thinking to kind of help our own inner strength and to help with our own emotional safety. So if you'll go to the next slide, Belinda, that'd be great. Thank you. Okay, so I invite you all, if you're watching this, to either pull out your phone and pull up the Notes app, or maybe you have a notepad or a piece of scratch paper by you and a pen. I'm going to read through this list. There are 20 things that I give myself permission for. And as we read through these, I invite you to maybe notice which ones stand out to you, of which things that maybe by giving yourself permission might better help you either attain some goals or might help just with your own emotional well-being. And you can jot those down as we read through these, and maybe they can go somewhere, if it's safe, you could put them on your mirror, or maybe they'll just stay on a note in your phone that you can refer to, or maybe you have another way you can kind of keep these in mind as you're going throughout your week. So I'll read through this list, just give you a chance to kind of reflect on your own life and your own situation and what things might be helpful for you to give yourself permission for. So 20 things that I give myself permission for. 1, I give myself permission to rest. 2, I give myself permission to laugh. 3, I give myself permission to play. 4, I give myself permission to make mistakes. 5, I give myself permission to say no to demands on my time that are simply draining. 6, I give myself permission to say yes to what I want. 7, I give myself permission to fulfill my lifelong dreams. 8, I give myself permission to ask for what I want. 9, I give myself permission to be who I am. 10, I give myself permission to try again. 11, I give myself permission to have fun. 12, I give myself permission to design my own life. 13, I give myself permission to ignore naysayers. 14, I give myself permission to stay focused on what's important to me. 15, I give myself permission to be whatever body shape I like. 17, I give myself permission to ask for help. 18, I give myself permission to stop caring what others think of me. 19, I give myself permission to write a lousy first draft. And 20, I give myself permission to create. And maybe as we read through these, maybe there was something else that came to your mind that you feel like you'd like to give yourself permission for, and you could also write that down. And you can refer back to this webinar later if there are some that you want to reread, or maybe there's something in here that will fit into your goal setting. Maybe it's a simple goal like Belinda's example of beginning to incorporate some exercise. And so maybe that's giving yourself permission to try again when you miss a day with your goal, that it's okay to get going again. So thank you again for listening in today and for watching. Again, here is Belinda and I's contact information. The email below my name is actually ncloward, but you can also reach out to our other counselor here, Victoria, the 3 of us through the webinars, and then Belinda's information is there below.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention that Victoria's email is listed. And thank you for joining us today. And we hope that you've got some inspiration about setting goals. And if you can't do it right away, then maybe it will be something that you can kind of think about and do it sooner than later. And we thank you again for joining us.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.